Hey, on quick message for the SJW crowd. You folks are causing all of the problems in society. That's right, I said all.
Really? Because I thought the lack of safe drinking water at Flint was caused by an apathetic government that hasn't felt any sort of accountability to the people for decades. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure the existence of young earth creationism, which has effectively crippled education in certain parts of America, was caused by the Christian right. Hang on a second. If SJWs are responsible for every problem in society, then surely SJWs are the problem for themselves. Then who or what created the first SJW? Does this mean that the first SJW self-caused and is therefore godly? Or does this mean that God was the first SJW? Does that make God the prime problem? I'm sorry, years of cosmological argument have taken their toll. Though I could note the fact that what we today refer to as a social justice warrior, myself included in said title, are a relatively new phenomenon. I'm going to be generous and assume you mean just today's problems, though even that won't save you, since that claim still fails to acknowledge the abysmal failure of classical party politics. Either way, I guess I should allow you your say.
And I will explain how. So put your torches and pitchforks down until you've heard the explanation. After that, you can pick them back up. I don't care.
Oh, that's right, that's another non-SJW source problem. The police's desire to execute first and consider due process later. Thanks for the reminder.
Now, the first way you're causing the problems in society is you're babying everyone based on your misguided beliefs. For example, contestants in a contest. One will win, one will lose. That's just the way life is. And losing a contest is not going to hurt anyone. You don't need to be worried about if this person can handle it. In fact, losing helps build character. It also helps people to want to improve so they don't lose again. There is nothing but good there. Leave it alone.
Really? Participation trophies or friendly matches? That's the argument you're leading with in how social justice warriors have caused all the vices of society. Cheap pieces of plastic. First of all, children still understand the concept of winning or losing. Being given a participation trophy doesn't change that fact. Children are fully capable of making their own competition from an early age, and there are plenty of places where competition naturally occurs, such as sport. Yeah, we have friendly games and there are participation prizes, but that doesn't stop the competition overall. There will be scored games and victory trophies. In the UK, when it comes to football, soccer to you Americans out there, we have both friendly and competitive matches. The existence of one does not erase the other, revealing this to be little more than a false dichotomy. Give a kid a ball and some will form teams and keep count, whilst others will simply kick it around. People have different interests when it comes to things like sport, and to force a child into any one way against their will really isn't healthy. Sometimes parents take games far too seriously when their kids just want to have fun. But I won't pretend that's always the case. I don't need to propagate the same false dichotomy as you, just to the other extreme. Secondly, it's not the social justice warriors who made participation trophies popular. As far as I can tell, that would be the Boy Scouts back in 1911 with the creation of merit badges. Being the third generation scout, okay, I only made it to Cubs, but the point is, there are no winner or loser badges. These badges merely show a person has participated in a certain activity and celebrates that fact. That's right, folks. Merit badges are a form of participation trophy. Just consider some of the things they have badges for. They have one for things such as coin collecting, painting, and I don't mean art since that's the art badge, don't get it confused with a painting badge, and yes, a general athletics badge of which no part requires you to win a competition. Don't believe me? Feel free to check the Scouts PDF guide on said merit badge. Then there's hiking, public speaking, reading, traffic safety, and...
Or you can go for your Wig Spotters badge. Wig Spotters?
Fact is, when it comes to sports, children still know who lost, but participation trophies tell them that whilst it's nice to win, that isn't the only thing one can achieve. A participation trophy tells a child that it's great that they tried something new and not only tried it, but stuck with it. They were a team player, they turned up to practice, and they learnt the rules to play by. Call me hedonistic, but I believe celebrating new experiences early on in a child's life to be a great precedent to set. Cue the pending slippery slope argument into a mountain of cocaine, but I'll take what I can get. Now, unless you're about to claim that the 1911 Boy Scouts were an SJW conspiracy, then I think you'll have to settle for the fact that this is a flimsy argument, simply looking for anything to accuse social justice warriors of doing. Unless you genuinely do think the 1911 Boy Scouts were an SJW conspiracy and that, by Sagan, he was right. He tried to warn us. I bet the scout leader is a furry, you sick, yiffing bastard.
Another way you people are causing the problems in society is treating people like they cannot handle the difference between fiction, which is fake, and non-fiction, which is real.
Well, my entire career thus far has been based around telling religious people exactly that distinction. Like, you couldn't have been picked up by a worse social justice warrior than myself. Now, when I first heard this, I guess the problem you actually had was the fact that if you don't want to or cannot understand something personally, your incredulity then makes it fiction when, no, that wasn't what you were talking about. It was worse.
Non-fiction affects people, fiction does not. It doesn't matter what the fictional material is, no living person is affected by it. And when I say affected, I mean negatively. Some people get joy. Some people experience joy from such material, and that's fine. However, no one is being harmed negatively. There is no problem there. Mind your own.
So if I called the police and told them you raped a child, reading off a script surrounding said fictitious events I'd written beforehand, would said fiction have a negative impact on your life? Also, the claim that fiction can't impact people's lives, certainly not in a negative fashion, is refuted by every religion in existence. Now, you may be religious and believe your God exists, but even ignoring the complete lack of evidence you have to justify said belief, surely you must acknowledge that religions besides yours exist and many of said religions are mutually exclusive. Do those religions, the ones you think are false, have an impact on people's lives? If you're Christian or Muslim, I don't know if you are, but if you are part of either mutually exclusive religions, then surely you believe the other religion is causing harm in leading people astray from the true word of God. If you're an atheist, meanwhile, then surely you can acknowledge that belief in any of these fictitious beliefs harms society as a whole. That's why young earth creationism persists. What I hope this shows is the idea that if it's not true it can't cause harm has no basis in actuality. As for the idea that that which is not true can't hurt you, this is almost a mirror of the religious belief that that which is not true can't benefit you. Apologists often throw this out as an argument for why God must exist, not understanding placebo or the fact that the same argument can be applied to religions besides theirs. It has no actual basis, just like your argument.
The only reason why you are even bothering with it is because it makes you uncomfortable. Which means the problem that you're having is not with the material itself, it's with you. You are made uncomfortable by a material that should not bother you because Nothing in it is real. So the issue, I'm saying, the solution isn't to demonize the material or seek it to be banned, because you'll still have the problem. It's a personal problem. You have to find some way to, get over whatever your issue is. And your issue is you can't distinguish between fake and reality. I don't care what the fake material is. It does not harm anyone. There is no problem.
I just want to say I'm sorry to my viewers that I have to keep returning to this example, but as a survivor, it is my go-to. I'm also uncomfortable with child rape. Does that mean the issue is with me? See, we can have a conversation about whether people are too sensitive towards media representation. Saying yes to that is a genuine position to hold, and I can further discuss that with you. Yet what you are doing here is just another rehash of the "you're offended, so what" argument. Fact is, that statement has basis in that if someone is offended, we should ask why and consider the validity of said offense, since offense can be just, but not always. However, this genuine principle has been warped into "you're offended, therefore it's your fault." Again, child rape offends me, and when we look at why, we can come to the conclusion that yes, that is a just offense. We can have the same conversation about issues with media representation, which I will openly declare to not be anywhere near as black and white as my example. But the idea that the issue exists only as a fault of the person taking problem to said issue is ripe for use as a tool of victim blaming, and it is used in that way. And it's sick. You're trying to secure your position through presupposing you're right, which isn't going to fly with me at all.
Now, if you could prove harm, that would be a whole different story. But you can't, because there is none. End of story, end of problem. The problem is with you, not it.
Maybe if you stopped being so self-assured in what you were saying and actually started to think a little more on said words, you'd realize that you don't have the case you think you do. Again, religions are by far one of the greatest evils that have ever plagued this earth. Just focusing on Christianity, and we have a book of myths called the Bible, which was used to change the traditional definition of marriage to exclude same-gender couples on punishment of death and make said homosexuality a capital crime in general during the Christianization of Rome in the 4th century Common Era. This idea spread through colonialism and has remained to this very day, causing countless deaths and untold suffering. On top of this, the Bible actively promotes slavery, not only giving instructions on proper ownership of your fellow human beings and how you may inherit them as property, chattel slavery if they are slaves of another nation, not being Hebrew or Israelite slaves, but telling slaves to remain obedient as if their obedience to their owner was obedience to Jesus in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 5 through 6. This fiction was then taken and used as the basis for religious sermons during the abolition debate, giving us titles such as The Religious Instruction of the Negroes, explaining to slave owners how they may use the Bible to pacify the slave. But moving to more modern day, have you never heard the term propaganda? What exactly do you think that is? The Holocaust was undoubtedly horrific, and it was an act helped by an active propaganda campaign. Now, does the fact that it resulted in atrocity make you believe said propaganda to be true? Now, even though you haven't stated it, I'm going to take a guess that you're talking more about discussions about representation and problematic narratives, such as the idea that all black people are street thugs, all Muslims are terrorist sleeper cells, and all trans people are sex workers in media. Fact is, this representation has an impact when you hear the same message time and time again. And I can prove this completely separate to social justice. Jaws the movie, and subsequent movies which have focused on sharks as blood-seeking man-eaters, have given sharks a bad perception. This is even though animals such as dogs or, hell, bloody coconuts kill more people each and every year. Media, including fiction, impacts perception. It constructs narratives, and the ones it's currently creating are tribalistic, us versus them narratives. your outright denial of this is childish and little more. Fact is, those who pretend like the media has no impact upon them are the most likely to be impacted by said media because they're not aware of just how much of an impact it can actually have.
The solution then is simple. Find out why you have a problem with the material, address it, get it out the way. And if you can't do that, then avoid the material. Very simple. Very simple. You don't have to, cause problems for anyone else. You can solve your problem like that. Just like that. And people like me get to enjoy what we enjoy with no problems from people like you. Every problem in society can, be traced back to people being treated like babies who need their hands held all the time. When you do that, you make weak people. When you introduce weak people into society, you make a weak society. That society will fall as a result. So, manage your own business, work on improving yourselves, and the problems that we are experiencing will go away. Thank you.
All you've done is made several assertions which, even if they were solid, a fact I think I've reasonably shown they aren't, how would participation trophies and discussions about media representation result in all the problems society offers? Like there's a massive disconnect there not solved by your assertions that these things make people weaker. This is something that's always confused me, so maybe you can help. How is me no longer taking your shit a sign of weakness? Like you hear this crap all the time about how women are paid less because they're simply not as good in asserting their voices, or LGBT plus people are killed because they're weak targets and apparently they all need to just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. But not only do we apparently have control over society enough to break it, but we break it by making everyone weaker. Everyone, including ourselves. Like, if SJWs make people weak, including themselves, how do they rise to power? What I'm asking is, if SJWs broke society, how tough can society be? Do we need to start a hashtag society so fragile so I can go hashtag society so fragile? It was broken by people defined by their weakness, at least according to you? Is Schrodinger's social justice warrior apparently powerful enough to destroy society, yet so weak they can't achieve anything? Like, how the hell do you manage to reach such an internally inconsistent conclusion? Either way, a great deal of reassessment on your part is in order, but thank you for what has genuinely been a laugh. And if you're still worried about society being broken, have you considered turning it off and on again?